anticipation of what I was about to ask?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this was not useful at all. I need you to all put your hands down, and I need you to click on the green yes, because that didn't count the hands. I forgot. You count it didn't tally it for me. So if you're a representative or an alternate representing your division, please click on the green yes, so I can get a count to see if we have quorum. And it looks like we do. All right. Then we are, I've got to make sure yeah, okay. And then I've got to admit one person. And okay, we are called to order at 3:05. Welcome to fall 2020. And I have to look at the agenda here. Forgot how to do this. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920 dated on March 17th, 2020, and signed by Governor Gavin Newsom, we are modifying the way that the public will participate in academic senate meetings during this fall 2020 semester. There's a typo on the agenda. As part of its response to the ongoing coronavirus outbreak, the Academic Senate provides members of the general public the opportunity to make comment on agenda items or items not on the agenda. Public comment can be submitted by email to me, and submissions will be read aloud in their entirety at the public meeting. Such submissions must be received prior to the start of the board meeting. The guidelines for the time and quantity of public comment remain in effect. And I don't see any emails. Does anybody here have a public comment that they want to make? If you do, please raise your hand in the participant window. Just to make sure we're all on the same page here, at the bottom of your Zoom window, there's a button that says participants. If you click on that, then guess what you get? A list of participants. And that's where I'm asking people to, I asked them to click on the green yes, and now I'm going to ask you all to unclick on your green yes so that it will all clear. That's where I would like for you to raise your hand. You'll see a little blue hand, and then I know that you're looking for some attention here. And I see that Professor Constantine is raising his hand. Do you have a public comment?
I think I'm gonna wait for my report.
Good deal. All right. So does anybody have any public comments that they want to share? Seeing none, we will move on to the next thing. And I'm already out of order. Okay. The first thing should have been the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would all please rise, face the flag. It should be on your screen. You don't have to unmute yourselves, but just read along with me, I suppose. Ready? Begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I hope I remembered it all this time. And I need to make the secretary a co-host. There we go. Thank you. It's a great relief to see that I can do that. And now we are on to the approval of minutes from June 1st of 2020. You received them in your packet. Does anybody have any recommendations for adjustments to the minutes from last meeting? Professor Wilbur.
Yeah, I do have a question. I don't know if I'm breaking procedure by asking a question at this point in regards to adjustments. Last meeting, I've got the meeting notes up and I just lost my spot. Last meeting when we discussed the academic calendar, it was stated in the meetings that January 10th would be the start date for spring 2021. And that's not currently what the start date says at the Pasadena City College calendar. So I don't know how we deal with that because that's not what it says. That's what it said last last meeting, and I of course approve the meetings. I would move to approve the notes for last meeting, but that's not exactly how it played out. I wonder if there was an explanation for that.
Oh, I'm trying to remember how this went down. So this is in the minutes from, was it in like my report or something? Professor Wilbur, where are you finding that?
It's in the meeting note, or it's in the notes for last meeting that were sent out.
Right. Do you have a, oh, I see it. January 10 with January 7 will be a professional development.
H2.
Yeah, I see it now.
So it says January 10th will be the start date for spring 2021. That's not at all what the calendar currently indicates. So that's not how it played out. So I was wondering, that's how it went down the last meeting. But then when I checked the calendar this summer.
Yeah, I understand. I see where you're going.
So I don't know if that means we need to adjust the minutes or, I'll take it from there, boss.
Okay, I am gonna look into because I do see right after that it says that the professional development day is on January 7th. So January 10 will be the start date for spring 2020. Oh, that should read winter 2021.
Okay, that's a big difference.
It really is.
And I had a discussion with my colleagues about that afterwards, and that's a huge difference.
I apologize. We will have winter 2021.
Well, that wasn't at all clear at the end of last meeting in the aftermath. So
evidently not. I sincerely apologize. Blew right past me. That should say winter, and we will correct the minutes.
Safe, fair enough.
I really appreciate that. And I apologize to everybody for any inconvenience that caused. Completely unintentional. I plead your indulgence on that. Professor Nordstrom.
Just FYI, the PCC website lists January 6th is the first day of winter. But is that just because it wasn't finalized last spring then? Is that the point?
I don't know why it would list that.
I don't know if I'm out of order, but the point was that it was the winter versus the spring. Sorry, I should have waited to be acknowledged.
My understanding is that with the January 7 Professional Development Day, the term should start on January 7.
Okay, that's not, I just looked it up.
I'm going to ask
No problem.
Dr. Junie, you are here. Do you want to chime in? Actually, you know what? No, this is not the right time, because right now we are discussing approving the minutes, and the minutes read that the amended minutes read that January 7 will be the start date for winter 2021. January 7 will be a professional development day. That's the most up-to-date information that I have. Okay, and I'll ask if you would please lower your hand. Thank you. Are there any other small or large corrections to the minutes? Okay, then if there is no objection, then we will approve those the minutes by unanimous consent. Is there any objection? If there is, please raise your blue hand. Okay, then we have they're approved by unanimous consent. On to the next item. We have a guest with us. I'd like to welcome the Superintendent President, Dr. Androgenis. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it is my honor and pleasure to be here to welcome everybody back to fall 2020, such as it is. I know all of you were busy over the summer, either teaching online or getting ready to teach online this fall. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate all of your hard work. I know it's a lot from my own experience, I'm teaching a brand new class at CSUN in the EDD program, which is also on Zoom. And so I've been right there with you trying to figure Canvas out and how to make things interesting. My class is 7 to 9:45 in the evening. It's the second class folks have that day. So you can imagine the bar is pretty high. So I absolutely appreciate everything you are doing to keep students engaged and to help them through what they're doing. And, you know, again, I can't say thank you enough. I also wanted to let you know that we're still trying to figure out what's happening. We are going to be doing winter online, and maybe your academic senate president will talk about that at some point in today's meeting, but or maybe Dr. Junie. So winter will be online. We are still trying to figure out what we're going to do about spring. There are so many considerations in there, including what to do about athletics. And as many of you know, I'm the chair of the California Community College Athletic Association Board. And this is a constant question: when can our student athletes compete? And so we're working on that. We have a working group going statewide, and so that is being talked about practically on a minute-by-minute basis. So many passionate people across the state trying to figure out how to get our athletes back on the field or back to play. And so we'll keep you posted on that. Hopefully you saw the announcement last week that Pasadena City College is the 2020 John D. Rice Award winner for student success. We will receive that award virtually on Wednesday, September 30th at the Student Success Conference. That it's the Equity Success Conference that the Chancellor's Office is doing. We actually thought we were pretty sure after our interview that it went very well in February, and we were waiting, and we were supposed to hear on Friday, March 13th, whether or not we won that award. And I think we all know what happened on Friday, March 13th. So we're very pleased to be a recipient. It is the culmination of a tremendous amount of work on the part of a lot of folks on campus, and there'll be more details coming out. But again, thank you to everyone who helps with our student success, which is all of you, because without all of your effort, those kinds of accolades would not come to the college. Speaking of which, we'll have our Aspen Institute visit October 6th through the 8th. That's coming up. And again, another opportunity for us to put our best foot forward. Tomorrow, if you're paying any attention to position advertisements, you will see the position advertisement for Dr. Terry Junie. I think he's told many people that he is retiring, and the ad will come out tomorrow, and we are looking forward to a robust pool of people who are anxious to come and lead a fabulous faculty at Pasadena City College. So stay tuned for details on that. I hope everybody's had a chance. I think you all will be talking about accreditation over the next month. I've read through our institutional self-evaluation report, which is extremely well written, excellent. Thank you to everyone who's taken part in that. It's no small feat to get that report done. And I think if you haven't read it yet, I think when you read it, which I know you're all going to read every single word. I know that, right? Everybody nod your heads. Yep. I'm going to read it, totally going to read it. I think what you'll see is it definitely is a collective effort of the college. It's not just one person's view of what's happening. It's all of your views, the evidence that supports all the great things we're doing. It's fabulous. So very excited to see that. And then I just want to end by saying that I hope you all saw that I will have my office hours back for faculty. I'm going to have Zoom drop-in hours on Tuesday, September 22nd at 1 o'clock. And as I said in my welcome back message a week ago, oh, would that I could give you some candy through virtually or through the internet. I can't, but the sentiment is there. And I really do hope people come by and tell me what's going on, how it's going, what your challenges are, what's great, what's not. And, you know, the best way for me to know what's happening is to hear directly from you. So have a great beginning to the fall term. Have a great Senate retreat, which I think is the second part of this meeting today. And again, thank you so much for all of your hard work. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Andronis. This is going to be embarrassing when I give my president's report because I basically am going to read what you just said. Okay, on to the next. We have our constituency report starting with the PCCFA.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to fall. Few updates. First one is that we have finally completed negotiations on the contract that will run through 2022. And that will be sent out for ratification as soon as all of the language is finalized. Should be within the next couple of weeks or so. We've also completed the most recent MOU for the COVID pandemic. And that's really good news, because for faculty, what it means is that most of you are going to be paid for transitioning your classes. Any classes that you've transitioned since the pandemic started, any unique class that you had to put online, you will be compensated $300 per unit for. So it ends up being about over $2 million that's going to go to faculty for doing all of this extra work that we've had to do. Also within that MOU is some language on evaluations. Basically for evaluations, if you are a non-tenured track, or if you are a tenured faculty, or you are a part-time faculty, then you probably will not be evaluated in the fall. Those are being pushed back. If you are a tenured track faculty, you have to be evaluated in the fall. So the only people that have to be evaluated are the tenured track people. And the rest of the faculty, it's going to be done by mutual agreement between you and the dean as to whether you want to delay your evaluation. You can be evaluated if you choose, but you may delay it. Let's see, what else? Oh, going back to the compensation, that's $300 per unit for each unique class, and it's $150 if it was a hybrid per unit that you transitioned. There's also language in there for when we start to reopen, but I didn't know, but apparently it's not going to be at least until spring now. So we probably don't have to worry too much about that, but there is language in there as far as faculty rights and things of that nature. Also, our first general meeting will be September 10th at noon via Zoom, and we'll have a lot more information at that time. And that is my update.
Thank you. And thank you to the FA and the district for negotiating the MOU. It's good news. Adjunct faculty report, Professor Constantine.
Yes, hi, everyone. Before I get to some of the details of my report, I would like to say that it has been the most challenging past few weeks for me personally as an instructor, based on the social unrest that we've seen in society. I think has impacted us tremendously in our community. I think that PCC as well as the Academic Senate has a responsibility to address these issues. And I hope that we can find a way in our 10+1 to address some of these issues as it relates to Pasadena City College. I think what we're seeing in the US right now is not only about Jacob Blake, about all those who have been murdered by police officers, but it shows that we have a responsibility to increase opportunities and access for all individuals from the African diaspora. So I hope that we can work collectively over the semester to address some of these issues as it relates to hiring, specifically at PCC, and access to individuals from the African diaspora as well. In terms of my report, I had one committee member resign from our committee, Dwayne Christensen. So we are searching for a replacement for him right now. I am about to contact our other committee members in terms of the availability for us to have our scheduled Adjunct Faculty Issues Committee meetings. And finally, I think one of the main things we'll be addressing this year is the rehire rights of adjunct faculty. And I think that as committee members, we want to be involved in the process of negotiations with the FA as it relates to rehire rights. With the recent changes that we saw, many adjunct faculty reached out to me and said that they were not pleased with their workload, with the courses that they were given for the fall. And I think we need to find a much more equitable solution. So I hope to work with the FA much more closely, including Mr. James Keller, who's our adjunct representative, to get a better plan moving forward so that adjunct faculty are given the opportunities that they deserve. Once again, I want to say that it's been difficult for us as African faculty, staff, students in the past few weeks, and I hope it's not taken lightly. And even though it may not impact you personally, because maybe you never experienced racism in your life, we deal with it on a daily basis, including at PCC. And again, I hope this is something that we can address. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Professor. On to the Classified Senate. Do you have a report?
Yes, good afternoon. Hi, everybody. My name is Adjunct Faculty. I'm president of the Classified Senate. I just wanted to share that since our board took office in July, we were doing a lot of work. We also had a retreat earlier this month to really just plan out what we want to do for the year. One of the things for our students and our staff is to reintroduce the Classified Senate Scholarship to really support during these times. A big thing that I did want to share is that during our PD Day, different discussions centered around our theme for PD Day emerged, really focusing on the racial inequities and our institutional barriers that exist on our campus. The Senate, Classified Senate is going to continue to support our classified colleagues to continue learning and find new ways to support our entire campus community. That's something that I'm going to really push forward to happen working with Jason in the Professional Development Office. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Partito, and welcome to the Academic Senate.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Associated Students. Have we an Associated Student report?
Yes. So hi, everyone. Nice to meet all of you guys virtually. Just an introduction. My name is Christina Zhang, and I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs. So this summer, the Associated Students has been working hard with training and planning for this year. So we invited a lot of faculty and staff members to our meetings just so we may get to know them and also offer help in any way. We also just finished Welcome Week with introductions to the Freeman Center, personal counseling, voting, registration, and a lot more. And moreover, I met with a few members from the executive board and with Jordan, one of our advisors, and we discussed privacy issues with Zoom and Proctorio. And as of now, we're hoping to recruit students into associated students so that the student body may be adequately represented. So we are looking for any interested students who would like to contribute or be on our leadership team and provide for the overall student welfare. So with that being said, if you would like to advertise or know of any interested individuals, please let me know at aspcc.czhang@gmail.com. Likewise, so if you have any concerns, feel free to contact me. And I will also send you an application for your students upon your request, and I look forward for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sung, and welcome to the Academic Senate. Would you do me a favor and please reread that email address?
Okay, my email is aspcc.czang@gmail.com. So it's C-Tang, yeah.
So I was just trying to throw that into the chat. And next up, we have, whoops, Management Association.
I better say you skipped me, Matt. Dr. Hennis, thank you very much. Welcome, like I said, people have been saying welcome to the fall semester. I'll make this quick though. At the management level, and thank you, Constant, for bringing that up again. We're continuing the conversation and focus on anti-racism and anti-Blackness. And one of the ways we're doing this is by establishing amongst the management ranks of reading circles that really encompass the managers of every area of the college to make sure that there isn't, again, any gap as far as the knowledge and the need to have these type of ongoing fruitful conversations. We're finalizing contracts for our academic managers, as well as looking at the procedures for performance evaluations for all managers. Similar to what I've heard, many committees, especially the college council committees, have had membership updated, and we look forward to working with many of you on those committees. And lastly, as you've seen previously, the college is doing its best to ensure the staff are coming to a safe work environment by providing COVID-19 tests, and we will be producing signs for all areas across the campus as we prepare to hopefully return to campus slowly but surely. For now, that is all. Thank you and welcome back.
Thank you. All right, on to the next thing here, which is our Senate officers' reports. I'm actually going to go again a little bit out of order. We could address this next meeting, but I have the information now regarding the point that Professor Wilbur was making regarding the minutes. And to her credit, the Superintendent President tried to help me out in the chat, and I just didn't, I wasn't on board. But I did receive how the minutes should have read. And so what I'd like to do is revisit the minutes because, I mean, the calendar is an important issue. And this is what should have been, what it should have said. My vote for abstention was on the 21-22 calendar, not whatever double year this is. And then the January 10th start date for spring was in fact for for spring 2022. Nothing about winter in 2021 is affected by any of this. But this is what it should have read. And then the calendar committee will be working on the 22-23 calendar. And so Professor Wilbur.
I do want to stipulate though that that's not an error in the minutes. That was actually stated in the meeting. The minutes are a correct representation of what was said in the meeting. I do understand that that's wrong. But I do also want to stipulate that that wasn't a mistake just in the way that it was recorded. That was actually stated in the meeting. I went back and rewatched.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the president of the Academic Senate was confused on his dates in discussing this particular issue here. Here's what I propose: that the minutes reflect what was actually said, because that's a record of what was actually said. But then this needs to be included as a correction so that there is not confusion regarding the status of winter. Professor Stoddard. You're muted.
Yep, going through the process, sorry. So I concur that this should be a reflection of what was said, and we shouldn't be changing what was said, and Professor Wilbur went back and listened already to help us out. So I just hope that we can have the minutes be reflecting what we said, not new information. So I don't know why we would need to revisit this, in fact, if it was correct.
Well, it was stated, it's a correct reflection of what was stated, but what was stated was incorrect. And so my recommendation is to preserve the incorrect statements, but then also record what is the correct reality. but it's up to the body. And as a matter of fact, the minutes should reflect what was done. And according to Robert's Rules of Order, are not really supposed to reflect what was said. There was no action taken here. And so probably the correct thing to do would be to remove this from the minutes entirely. Professor Stoddard.
So it is, in my opinion, that what is done today should be reflected in the next set of minutes. But what was done in June should be stated in those set of minutes of which were presented and passed.
Okay. That's an accurate statement, Professor Cairo. If you're speaking, you are muted.
Pardon me, I'm doing the same mistake my students do.
All right.
President Hennis, so the only issue is just that the dates that we have here are incorrect. Is that right?
Yes.
So perhaps then if we leave this as is, and then at the following minutes, just say that, or all we're saying is that there's a correction in the dates, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is it just, should we just add that, just simply say there's a correction in the dates, that's it, and leave it at that?
That's an option, sure.
I mean, just more simpler. Thank you.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. Well. Okay. So I based on the input that I got here, what I'll do is we'll go ahead and leave this topic here, and we'll deal with it in the next minutes. Okay. Yeah. Then on to the president's report. There have been changes to the annual update and task stream to better align with the educational master plan. The strategic planning committee is working on a vision statement for the college. Mission, vision, and values. We have a mission. We're working on a vision statement. We're working on values as well. The facilities standing committee has a new faculty co-chair. We have the academic senate appointed her at the end of spring. Sylvia Talalik in the math department. And under her leadership, the Facility Standing Committee is investigating solutions for having a Black Student Success Center. That was my last meeting in that committee, and I was really touched and pleased to be part of that conversation. And then I, like President Androgenis, will be having Academic Senate office hours. I sent an email out on August 20th with these dates here. And yeah, so this is just an opportunity for you to touch bases with me, because as as Dr. Androgenis said, if I don't hear from you, I don't know what's going on. And this is an opportunity for me to hear from you. And to the person writing me in the chat, that is the correct spelling of Sylvia's name. And winter 2021 is going to look like fall. It is primarily online. I think that there's still, some determination that needs to be made as to which classes have to be held face-to-face and which can be and have to be. But you can expect, by and large, winter to look like fall. This concludes the president's report. And now I suppose I should go back here and ask, is that a question on the president's report, Professor Cairo? Oh my gosh.
Yes, it is. Is it possible to somewhere down the line as the semester continues to include the statements or what was agreed upon or discussed in your CAPA meetings with the president? I'm assuming those CAPA meetings are still occurring?
They are. Yes, I can include that in report out.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. I have somehow lost my share window. Well, we'll move on. Is there a vice president's report?
So hi, everyone. Welcome to the semester. I'm going to be talking about committees, but most of the committee chairs know that I have emailed them for some information to help in my role to help our interaction of the Academic Senate with committees. And just so you guys know, a little change to when we get when I'm looking for people to be on hiring committees, Matt will have to email out the notice to everyone because because I'm not allowed to email to the faculty anymore because of the rules of emailing. So Matt will be sending out the original email, and then the responses can come to me if you're interested in serving on hiring committees. So that's just a little bit of a change that I want everyone to be aware of. So that's my report for now.
Okay, thank you. Is there a secretary's report?
No report, but welcome back, everyone.
Thank you. And then Professor Cairo?
I apologize for interrupting. Are these emails, are this going to be campus, are they going campus wide?
That's a future agenda item for today.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes. Professor Constantine.
Yes, I had a question for last speaker. Has there been any discussion of allowing adjunct faculty to sit on hiring committees?
I'm going to interrupt there. That it's not what she was announcing was a procedure for what's in place. What you're asking about is if there's been any changes to a procedure. And I will answer that and say that, well, I will, I mean, she can go ahead and answer that if she would like.
I don't think there's been any changes to the procedure in adjunct.
And if we wanted to get those changes, what's the how do we go through that process?
Well, it would be a shared governance thing. You would, I suppose, bring it to me.
Okay, fine, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, and then treasurer's report.
Thank you, Matt. I would like to read the balances into the record. So as of May 14th, 2020, the combined total for checking and savings was $21,176.37. As of August 18th, 2020, it was $21,067.08 for a net change of negative $109.29. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a standing information item, guided pathways. And for that, we have Professor Altunji and a web page.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to fall. We have a big event to announce that will be in week 4 of the term. It is a conference for students, staff, and faculty to attend in collaboration with the Freeman Center. And it's Tuesday, September 15th, 16th, and 17th. And the link we will put in the chat for you also so that you can check out this page. I'm going to turn it over to Sheila, who has been working with coordination on this event.
Thank you, Miriam. So currently I hold the position of Career Community Coordinator for the campus, and I work with a team of approximately 20 faculty career community leads, as well as a student advisory group called the Student Equipo. And it is our job to bring the community college, the career community supports to our students. We have discovered through an inquiry group with UCLA that many of our students, especially our Latinx students, do not consider lucrative careers. They are choosing low-paying careers because they are highly correlated with helping their communities. We know that almost any career can have a social justice function, and so we want to provide information and networks of support to our students in making their career and major decisions. So we will be having a number of panels provided by the Freeman Center for Career and Completion, as well as the Transfer Center, and we have career panels for each of our 6 career communities, and we are recruiting faculty as well as alumni and community members to participate on those to help educate our students about different career choices. So please do let me know if you would like to serve on one of those panels. We'll be advertising this widely to the campus, and please do share the nudges that we will be providing to you with your students so that they know about this opportunity. And I do want to call out that our keynote will be on Wednesday, September 16th from 5 to 6 p.m. And that will be Dr. Cesar Cruz from Harvard University. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, accreditation. As you heard, our institutional self-evaluation report, known as the ICER, the first draft is completed. You received it in an email. I don't know, you received it twice, probably 3 times. And it will be on our next agenda for a first read. And so please do that reading. And I want to remind you that large portions of it, like 3/5 of it, was available for review in spring. If you go down to the accreditation page, you could have provided your feedback for that. So this isn't, the first time that we're seeing it, but we will have it for a first read September 14th, and then a second read September 28th. And it's, I don't know, 240 pages long. And I concur with what was said. I think it's a good, solid document. It speaks to the standards. We started with evidence. We wrote about what evidence we had. We wrote to the standards. I'm pleased with what resulted, and I hope you are as well. The virtual visit will be in March. I don't remember what week. I think the second week, but we have time before that happens. On to the next item. As you will see in the packet that was distributed last week, according to the Senate bylaws, during times when the Academic Senate Board is not in session, the Executive Committee shall act on its behalf, and the Academic Senate Board shall review such actions at its next regular meeting. Well, guess where we are? And so I did include in the packet AP 4100. Somehow the diversity requirement for our general education was removed. And that was discovered when the Curriculum and Instruction Committee was looking at a different document. They referenced AP 4100, realized it was missing. This was on, I think, June 11th, just right at the end of the term. And that put our AP out of alignment with the flyers that we hand out to students and our college catalog. And so the Executive Committee approved the changes that were recommended by the Curriculum and Instruction Committee to this AP. You will see the changes highlighted in the packet. The Executive Committee appointed Gina Lopez and Natalie Galindo to the new faculty coordinator hiring committee. And then they also appointed, I guess we, but I don't vote, Angela Ceballos to the Facilities Standing Committee. What happened was Dr. Talawik replaced me as the faculty co-chair, and then Professor Ceballos has replaced Dr. Talawik as a member on that committee. And then the Executive Committee appointed Anthony Francoso and Veronica Jaramillo to the Title V Faculty Lead Gateway Course Development Hiring Committee. And finally, Susie Ling and Gina Lopez and Valerie Udeozor to the Chief Diversity Officer Hiring Committee. Those are the actions we took. This is our review of those actions. On to the next. Well, I should ask, are there any questions about any of these things? Okie dokie. We are now on to consent item C. We have academic senate subcommittees. I'm going to separate out J1 from J2. J1 is the academic senate subcommittees. Well, this is on its consent item. So we don't actually need a motion. What I would ask is, are there any objections to approving these appointments by unanimous consent? Okay, then these items are approved by unanimous consent. Next up, shared governance committees. And there are a lot of people. So And what we're talking about with these are college council committees, college council subcommittees. And the guidelines are a little bit, I'm just gonna say weird at times. In some committees, it says, 5 people are appointed to 2-year terms and 4 people are appointed to 3-year terms, but it doesn't say who's for what. And so I decided we'll just renew everybody every year. It didn't cost me any more to put more names than fewer names. The names that are highlighted in yellow represent new appointments. All of the other names are people re-upping for the committees that they served on last year. This is again on the consent calendar here. So is there any objection to approving all of these committees' appointments through unanimous consent? Seeing no objection, these are approved through unanimous consent. Next, we need a motion because the chair of 2 committees, the Nominations and Elections Committee and the Bylaws, Rules and Procedures Committee, has retired. Therefore, the committees are both chairless. And so what we need is a motion to authorize Vice President Jaramillo to call meetings of these 2 committees so that these 2 committees can have a chair. It's generally the chair that calls a meeting, but without a chair, we're going to go to the chair of the the Committee Support Committee. So can we have a motion? Professor Molnarek, I see you raising your hand. Would you please verbalize motion?
I move that we approve Professor Jaramillo and having the ability to call meeting for both of the committee.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then Professor Winter, your hand is up. Is that a second?
That's a second.
Okay, so moved by Professor Molnarek, seconded by Professor Winter to approve Vice President Jaramillo to call meetings of these 2 committees. Is there any discussion? Okay, is there any objection to approving this by unanimous consent? Okay. Good luck, Vice President Jaramillo. Next up, oh, and for those of you who are new, first, I guess I should have said welcome. The alternative to approving by unanimous consent is a roll call vote. And so as much as possible, we're going for unanimous consent because the roll call votes take a little time. Next up is BP 3720. I missed a space there, but there it is. Computer and network use. And then AP 3721, electronic communications. They are appearing for us for a first read. They were in your packet. I don't think that I made clear what the changes were. These are both existing documents that we have. And I'll give you, I don't know, Associate Vice President Jones, did you want to introduce this or should I introduce it?
I'm happy to introduce it, Matt.
Okay, thank you. So we have Associate Vice President of Technology, Jones, here. And let me go ahead and get this on the screen so people have it to look at while you're speaking. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I wanted to run through at a high level what the changes are to both the board policy related to computer network use, as well as the changes to the electronic communications. For the BP 3720, largely what we're wanting to make sure that people understand are the professional ethics procedures that are already in place for the respective constituent groups. That's where we would go to or refer to whenever we have questions around acting within related to their responsibilities around academic freedom or freedom of expression or ethical behavior, that those tend to fall under the normal professional ethics procedures. And so we wanted to provide some clarity there. So that's an easy one. As it relates to the administrative changes, there are a lot of additions here. Some definitional moments where we're asserting that the official communication for faculty, staff, and students on this campus are both their @pasadena.edu accounts and their go.pasadena.edu accounts for students. And thank you for scrolling. I think the next piece around assignment of accounts that we provision for all active employees' accounts as well as active students, the responsibilities that we want all of our members of our community are to regularly check those messages because college-related news or activities will go to those accounts as opposed to preferred email accounts. Under the acceptable use, we added 8 items that were just not clarified previously. Largely, they're related to the types of activities that can happen very broadly. So examples of that could be soliciting a business or political activities that are not related to the college's business. And number 9 is probably the most important, to not electronically transmit messages that are discriminatory or infringe on privacy. Those most of us would assume and agree and not be aware that those things weren't in our policy before. So it was really important that we made sure to address those and place those. A new addition is around forwarding of email, and this actually impacts faculty more than our students. And what we're just trying to assert is that there is a risk associated to forwarding your PCC email to a personal account. And while you have the ability to do that, we do not in any way, shape, or form can assume responsibility for those messages getting there because really we're advocating for you to use your Pasadena email account because that is the email accounts that you should be using for official business. Scroll, scroll, scroll. And then the news section, which kind of aligns to a lot of times when I'm relatively new to PCC, this is my 2nd year. And so you will see lots of changes to technology related policies because technology changes on such a frequent manner. And so for us not having a yearly review of all of our procedures, over the next couple of months, you will see probably 5 or 6 more that will be coming to you all that are technology related. So whenever we're constantly trying to look at what our procedures are and what we currently have in place, one of the things that I, in my role, have to do is benchmark against the community college system and higher education as a whole. Because as much as I think that PCC is a wonderful place and a very special place, it does not operate sort of outside of higher education. And so when we're looking to make policy changes, we're really trying to look at higher ed as a whole and how topics or situations are managed. So the new addition around the use of mass emails to get clarity around, again, that the Pasadena email account is used for official business, and there are distribution lists that people are dynamically assigned to. Those are not opt-in scenarios. So there's a difference between communicating with people who opt into receiving communication versus people who do not opt into receiving communication. And so these are specifically related to messaging out large groups of folks who may or may not have opted into those communications and who the particular owning office is in terms of sending those messages out. So an example on full-time faculty adjunct, what we just tried to say, hey, the owning office for communications related to faculty, whether they're full-time or adjunct, the owning office is the Office of Instruction. But here are the authorized units that can message to those dynamic distribution lists. So whether it's the Office of the President, which the PIO rolls under the Office of the President, Human Resources, Police or College Safety, if there was a need to shut down campus, we need to make sure that we can communicate that really quickly, our Faculty Association and our Academic Senate. And so we just try to lay out really clear who has the authority to message those lists. And when the need comes to actually have to message to those lists, you coordinate with those bodies to do so. There is a little sort of sub-statement as under local authority. So scroll down just a bit. Okay, so then there are a lot of questions where maybe a dean wants to email their respective faculty. That's fully fine. Like that's not covered under this large dynamic distribution list, right? So let's say Dean Archibald has a need to get a message out to his faculty. He has the full rights and authority to message to his faculty. Can he message all faculty? No, he would work with the owning office or one of those organizations to send a message out on his behalf. So whether that's, again, associated students, whether that's any of the instructional offices or area, whether that's my area, right? I have a need to communicate to a large group of people. I would be working with the Office of the President to send my messages out on my behalf. Accessibility, we always want folks to be very aware that we are required to comply to all of our ADA laws. And so making sure that messages, especially HTML pretty, we call them pretty messages, comply, and that so all of our students, our faculty and staff can read those messages or have screen readers read those messages. I think those are the only new additions. Everything else was previously there.
Okay, and as you were going through that, it quickly became apparent to me, the additions are in bold. I knew that at some point, but
it's okay.
Okay, is there, are there any questions about these policies? Generally what we would do is we would ask for a motion to approve before we have a discussion. I leave it to you. I see a hand, Professor Fiebig.
Yeah, hi. I just have a point of clarification for Candace, if I could. We're talking about streamlining email communications, and you brought up an interesting scenario that just happens to be my dean, Dean Archibald. So today I will be taking notes, kind of giving informal notes from today's meeting. Can't I, as a faculty member, distribute that to everyone in my division, or should I be sending that email to Dean Archibald and then letting him announce that?
My recommendation would be to check in with Dean Archibald just in terms of how he would want to manage that. I can just say from a policy perspective, messaging within your local unit, department, and division, that's under local authority. And so I would feel remiss in trying to say how he wants that. That might be very different than, you know, Dean Young.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I would actually chime in and say if it's if you're communicating to your faculty about academic senate issues, I believe that would appropriately come from a faculty member. But I think though that the point that Vice President Jones had said earlier was that within a division, that's not what is intended by this policy, right? So I'd say existing practices are still to be followed when you're communicating with your constituents. Okay, and I see a nodding of the head there. Professor Lopez, I'm not sure when you raised your hand. Oh, you're telling me that the time is up.
No.
Oh.
I can't raise my hand because I'm co-hosting.
Oh, gotcha.
But I had a question also. So the items that are voted, the new changes, are those required by law, or are those things that the institution PCC wants to put in place, the administration?
I would say there is nothing in most of our administrative procedures that are required. It's required by law that we have a procedure, right? How we interpret that procedure and how we want to manage that locally is up to our discretion.
Okay, so with that being said, it seems that this is a form of censorship, one. Also, I think about the letter that I wrote to the campus. Had this been in place, that letter would have never been received by anyone on campus, and I would have had to go through my dean, who would have had to go through the VP, who would have had to go through a lot of other people in order for that message to be sent out. So that's what I'm understanding, correct? That I can't send something out to the campus. I would have to go through 3, 4, 5 people, and they have to approve whether or not I'm able to reach out to faculty or staff or whoever.
I'll answer your question in 2 parts. So I don't think that you would have to go through 3 people to do that. I think you would just contact the owning office, which is for, in faculty, it would be the Office of Instruction. I would say that, how would I answer this? Very similar to USC, UCLA, PCC, messages that go out to broad communities do get vetted, because whether or not, I mean, there are methods by which to send them out. I think the offshoot would be that as much as constituent groups would advocate for their messages, there may be other people who don't want those messages. And I'm not sure that we want to play in that realm. And so the whole point of saying, hey, let's try to filter a message through an owning body is to try to have those conversations at a local, at a higher level, just so that multiple messages are not being sent out or being reacted to in a way that caused a lot of distress.
Okay, so
I'm going to actually, we ran out of time during that exchange. And so we need a motion to extend.
can I make that motion?
You can.
Motion to extend 10 minutes.
Okay.
I second.
I can see Professor Wilbur has his hand up to second. Just happened to be in my field of vision. So moved by Professor Lopez, seconded by Professor Wilbur to extend by 10 minutes. Are there any objections to approving that by unanimous consent? We have extended by 10 minutes. That motion carries.
So then what I'm hearing is that for me to, if I were to send out that message again, that the entire campus responded to, if I were to send that out again, in order for it to be out, it would be at the discretion of whoever the owning body of whoever that is. And it would be up to them whether or not that would be able to be sent out.
I think as the policy is written, yes, that's the intention. I would err on the side of, I actually don't think that a lot of messages would be censored in the distribution. I think that there is a method. You see that Alex sends messages all the time on behalf of the community. I think having a central point to do that is consistent with where higher ed is in terms of messaging very large groups of people who have not opted into receiving those messages. So that's the key point. That's the key intention, is that messages that are dynamically generated by data that's in the banner system. It's not like I've said, I want to receive those messages. Those are the messages that the institution are pushing to the community for a host of reasons, whether they be event related, whether they be, campus safety related, et cetera. But the opt-in component is not there.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Thank you. It does seem that we can't control if it was censored, one, but also, again, something that started a movement would have not ever reached our campus had this policy been in place. That's what I'm hearing.
I guess I would look at it this way. If there was an opposite message that somebody wanted to send to the campus, would that be okay? And so I think it's a slippery slope. Like the whole censorship goes both ways. It cuts both ways. So if we have other messages that need to go out, that I just, Dr. Lopez, it's a hard topic. I don't know that I'm adequately addressing your issue in the sense, so I honor and acknowledge that. I think the challenge with business email accounts, and it's very different on the faculty side than it is on the administrative side. I think they become a challenge when folks are also trying to work, and then there's a lot of messaging around other items. And so as much as the institution has come out in support for those actions that you took first and that a lot of people followed after, I think that that's noteworthy. I don't think that those things wouldn't have happened had we had this in place.
But we don't know that. That's one.
That's true. That's true.
That censorship is a slippery slope altogether.
Okay. I have to point to that we are supposed to have a time limit for each speaker. And so remember, this is for a first read, but I do see other hands up and I want to give other folks a chance to chime in. If you have any last thoughts, Dr. Lopez, then I invite you to share them, but I need to let you know that there's a time issue.
I'm good. Like I said, censorship is a slippery slope. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Professor Wilbur and then Professor Constantine.
I was wondering if we might stipulate that the list of adjuncts and full-time faculty be curated so that people who are no longer adjuncts and are no longer full-time faculty might be removed from that list. That's one thing that we could have used to get around that. And also if we could potentially send some of these out as a blind CC, so they get sent out to the campus community without allowing the recipients to gain access to that list. And also a lot of this could have been avoided by restraint, but to those ends, part of it, I noticed if we kept those lists up to date, a couple of those faculty lists had people on them that were no longer associated with the campus, so far as I discerned, unless I'm wrong. Do we run afoul of legal issues if we do such a thing?
So I'm going to chime in and say that's not actually, it's related to an occurrence that happened, but it's not actually related to this AP. Unless there's a recommendation to include language in the AP, it says that the lists need to be kept up to date.
I would recommend that pending Professor Jones's discussion of whether we could legally do that. Is there a law indicating that we have to keep will of faculty going 3 or 4 years back that those messages go out to, or is it just for people who are currently working at PCC?
So with the reason why there's a little bit of lag with the people currently is because a lot of the adjuncts, to be quite honest, have contracts that start and stop. And so a lot of the data in the HR system, just in terms of data in Banner about appointments, right? If we ended those appointments when your contracts end, you would lose access to all of the resources that you need when you're off contract.
As far as I noticed, it was a 3-year lag in the event that I'm assuming that we're sort of vaguely referring to.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that would be an HR question, and I don't know their statuses. So I don't want to speak to that just because I don't know it. But the intention would be if you have an active employment status in the HR system, you would be included on those lists.
I guess that's my question. What's active?
Well, I did raise this with the Vice President of HR at the time and asked that the list be kept current. I don't remember what the response was, but I think it was, yeah, we should do that. I think.
I would concur. That was his response.
Okay, good. Thank you. It's been a long summer. Professor Constantine.
Yes, I understand where the policy may be coming from. I'm very concerned about it because it seems like this has only been an issue since we made a statement on Black Lives Matter. And in response to that statement, we had some very racist comments made by faculty members, which is a conversation for a different day and a different agenda item. But I'm very concerned about this, and it's nothing personal against Mrs. Jones. She does a wonderful job, and we've been supporting her since she's been at PCC. But we, as faculty, we should not be silenced in terms of voicing our opinion and taking stance on issues. And it concerns me that this is now an issue only because there was a strong statement, and that Black Lives Matter statement needs to be repeated and repeated, and some people still don't get it. And they put up tags of Black Lives Matter, but when you look at the data, it doesn't support it. And I'm just urging senators to look at the policy closely. I know it's a first read. I'm trying not to become emotional about it, but this is a concern for me. Thank you.
Thank you for raising that.
For my part, when I first joined the executive committee of the Academic Senate, at that time, there was a campus-wide email going around about the women's restrooms in the W building. and there were dozens of emails, and it degenerated into dozens of people saying, please remove me from this list. And at that time, I wanted to take this matter up. It didn't happen then. Subsequent to that, there have been, I think, 2 more events where there have been a lot of reply alls and people saying, please remove me from this list. It's that type of thing that prompted me to start a conversation with Vice President Jones. It was not the content of what started the conversation, but it was, as was mentioned, restraint would have been good. It wasn't happening, and we can't legislate people's reactions. For what it's worth, it's not the first time that it came up for me. Professor Walker.
Hello, everyone. I'm new to the Senate. I'm not new to PCC, though. Given that I'm not new to PCC, like Matt mentioned, there's been several emails sent out to the entire campus. And so my concern is, why now? I remember the same emails Matt mentioned, and ones that were weird, just unconcerning to the whole campus. And, wondering why nothing was done about those emails. However, when this, like Constantine mentioned, when this email goes out, it just sends a message to the Black community on campus, not just the Black community, those allies and those co-conspirators that are putting their jobs on the line to help Black students and Black people. It just sends a clear message, although covert message, that, that this is happening now and it's noticeable. And so I'm just wondering, is there a way to just acknowledge that? I mean, just say, call it what it is. Only because, again, there have been several emails. Like I said, I'm not new to PCC. I've seen the same emails. And to see that, within hours, that the whole system was changed. I watched it changed. And there were calls out for people saying, can you remove these people that were mentioned by Brian, I believe? Can you remove these people who don't even work here anymore? There were cries out for that. That didn't happen. The response to that was, oh, we have to let people have freedom of speech. That was kind of the response. And so then all of a sudden, all the emails were taken down. And so that's the whole thing. And so I'm just concerned as to why the spokesperson or the people who aligned with the message are being punished and not the racist comments. That's all.
Thank you.
I would only say I wasn't here 14 years ago, so I can't speak on this is actually my first situation. I'm just over my 2-year mark, so I have never seen what you are describing other than the recent moment that happened. I have been in higher education for 20 years, and the use of dynamic distribution lists from IT is actually not normal. It's not usually allowed. And so me as an IT professional walking into this environment, to be quite honest, I was a little shocked that it was even available, because at most institutions of higher education, it is not. And for reasons that they can't be, there are times when things happen that then there are all these question moments about why this and not that. And so I will say, I acknowledge that it may seem related to this event. It's not. It's related to me being new here and also understanding what the standards are in higher education, IT. I mean, all of us are educated folks who go to all sorts of institutions. Where is this allowed? It just isn't, because of these sorts of things. But what I will say is we do probably need to separately figure out where those conversations would happen. How do we allow that dialogue to happen? If there is a need for that, then we need to find a solution for that. But the dynamic distribution lists that are used to message the community when there are you know, campus issues or, you know, things that are happening or things that you need to, that you need to see to keep you safe and all of these things, those are what those are reserved for. And there is a path to get that message out. So Dr. Lopez's message, I feel, would have went out. You know, I understand that there's a lack of trust because of the history. Like, I understand that, but I have done a lot of research and I don't know where else this is allowed.
Professor Jaramillo.
So I was just, you know, I've been on different committees throughout my, like not at PCC, but I agree with Brian Wilbur that generally what happens is you're allowed to use the blind CC, and that avoids the, you know, reply to all, and that allows for people to communicate, but maybe not for excessive emails to go on and on. So I don't know. I feel like I would hate for people to feel like they're being silenced, but I feel like maybe the policy could be loosened and maybe blind CC should be part of the policy allowing faculty to email each other. Oh.
Thank you. Professor Francoso.
Yeah, hi,
That is local authority.
Hi, I'm new as well. I mean, obviously there's a need for these types of really important discussions to be happening. If our university was good at having these discussions, then maybe what would have happened wouldn't have transpired, right? So these discussions need to be happening at the forefront every single day, all the time. And maybe we need a different system to be able to allow for these discussions to exist. But I think putting up some kind of censorship board or having to get our messages approved by someone that's on top, above us somehow, some way, that's not going to work, most definitely.
So the feedback is that you want to be able to message to other faculty. Okay. That kind of falls under local authority, where the limitations are when you're extending outside of your group.
Okay, thank you. Professor Chafee.
Yeah, thank you. Judging from what people are saying, it would seem, sorry, tried to lower my hand, there it is, that it would be great to have some sort of format for this, but until there exists some sort of system, that perhaps we shouldn't be limiting people's ability, and that in the meantime, we should allow for this to continue on, unless there is some legal, like outstanding or imminent legal issue that could, you know, cause accreditation problems or whatever for the school, or financial distress for the school or something like that, that we should leave this open for the time until some mechanism for this is put in place.
Thank you. We have 2 more minutes, and for a second turn here, Professor Walker.
Oh yeah, just really quick. I'm also vice president of TABE, and so I just wanted to know, how does that work? Because you mentioned, Candace, about faculty sending to faculty or whatnot. Organizations like, you know, ALE or TABE or, you know, the other groups go across, right? Across campus, across different levels of position on campus. So how would that work?
So that would be covered under the local authority piece, so that your constituents, you would just need to ask a list for your constituents and be able to message to TABE representatives or ALE or CAPE. So that's covered under local authority. You don't have to get those messages approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Professor Francoso, we have less than 1 minute, but go ahead.
So just really quick. So then if TABE wanted to email folks that are not in their constituency, say like, I mean, I don't know, faculty potentially, or I mean, I'm not really sure, but if they wanted to email outside of their constituency, how would they go about doing that? Or how would ALE go about doing that?
If it's a broad distribution message to all of the campus community. Depends on what you were trying to message. So let's say you had an event. That might be a great example. You would send those messages, an event message to the PIO office, who would send those messages on your behalf.
Are we talking about Mr. Bucklehead?
Correct, I'm sorry, yes.
But I believe we got a message just the other day about elections that occurred during for one of the employee associations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Professor Wilbur is going to close us out.
Yeah, last quick comment. We do have other public forums. Of course, there is the Academic Senate and our public comments. And believe it or not, we do have a campus newspaper. I don't know if anybody still reads that, but that's another good way to get your messages out as well, if we're looking for an alternative means.
Okay, so we're going to call that the first read, and it will come back for a second read. Professor Constantine, did you have a last minute?
Well, I would just say that that in itself is part of the problem, because we get a lot of public comments, but nothing happens from those public comments. No one reads the newspaper anymore. And it's sad to say that people rely on email to get their messages. And so these important messages that needs to reach everyone at PCC, the question is, how do we effectively get those messages to the right people?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this will come back for a second read, probably the next meeting. Thank you for your time, Vice President Jones, I appreciate it. And we are on to, I don't know where my window is anymore. But the last thing is, it's Professor Jaramillo. Well, okay, I leave it to y'all what happens. Somebody could move to adjourn if you wanted. I'm not encouraging it. We will have our retreat pretty much immediately after the meeting is over. But the last item on the agenda is to discuss Academic Senate Subcommittee report outs and web materials maintenance. And so I will pass it over to Professor Jaramillo.
Hi. So I have been contacting the chairs of different committees. I sent an email out to make sure that they looked at their committee membership on our governance app to make sure it was up to date. And then I asked committee chairs to write back with their mission of their committee, the functions that they do, their goals for this year, and how they plan to report what they're doing to the Senate, and if they need help from the support committee. So I've only gotten 4 responses back so far. But I guess we want to discuss in the Senate, what do we think is appropriate for subcommittee report out to the Senate, because they're doing, they're charged with doing our work, and then they should be reporting back to us, but we seem to not get report outs very often from our subcommittees. So we're looking for ideas on what our Senate is thinking is appropriate for report outs.
Now,
how often, and yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were done.
Okay, so how often and in what fashion do you think would be appropriate for the subcommittees to report out?
Now, for context, you said you received maybe 4 responses from committee chairs.
Yes.
Out of like how many, ballpark?
Out of 12 emails, maybe, yeah, I think so.
Okay. And I believe we have somewhere around 24 actually total subcommittees.
I think that's true. I'd have.
Okay. So any ideas for improving communication from Senate subcommittee chairs? We're asking for help. Actually, we're doing two things. We're asking for help and we're asking what you want to know about what's going on with our subcommittees. Professor Rose, then Professor Fiebig, then Professor Endor.
It seems appropriate that we would have at least a written report once a semester. And we could have rotating presentations at the beginning, much like we have the accreditation and the guided pathways. I think College Council does that, where the committee chairs are regularly invited to report out of the work of the committee. So we could have perhaps 2 per meeting.
Thank you, Professor Fiebig.
Yeah, and I was just going to second what Professor Rose is actually talking about, because as a member or as a co-chair of one of those subcommittees, we want to know how often should we be coming to Academic Senate. So I agree, I think it should be semesterly ideally, and then at least maybe once a year, we get to meet with everybody on the Academic Senate so that they can see what we're doing.
Okay. Professor Endor.
It occurs to me that maybe there could be a meeting with the heads of these committees and some people on the board, because maybe they don't want to be on it anymore. Maybe people don't see the need for the committee. And it seems like we're always kind of goosing this process to get it going. And maybe we'll get people to admit, you know, I don't have time for this anymore.
Okay. I like the idea, I do. And it's something that we can look into. It is a logistical challenge to find out when 20 faculty members are free, when it wasn't built into their schedule, but that's certainly something we can consider. Any other thoughts, input, feedback? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Then we'll call that like a first read. We'll probably bring this back because it's been historically the results of Academic Senate retreats at the beginning of a semester. I saw them in a drawer somewhere or on a computer. I don't remember where, but year after year, it's increased communication with our subcommittees year after year. So not new, but anyway, does anybody have any recommendations for future agenda items? Professor Constantine.
Yes, I would like to see the hiring process being brought as an item. I've had some conversations with many faculty members, and many of them believe that we need to change some parts of the process. We need African Americans on all hiring committees. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, is to allow adjunct faculty who have been at PCC for maybe 4 or 5 years to sit on those hiring committees. So that's something I would like to see on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Professor Foster.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we might have like a standing item to share out what the college is doing on the Black Lives Matter front, what we're doing in terms of changing policy, procedure, or hiring more diverse faculty or administrators. Our president spoke about the VPI hiring committee, and that seems like a wonderful opportunity to get more diverse administrators on this campus. And so I wonder if there have been talks about what steps we're going to take to ensure that that happens. So does this include recruitment? Does this include putting people of color on the hiring committee, et cetera?
Thank you. Anything else? All right then. Are there any announcements? Then we are adjourned. Thank you for the first meeting of the semester. And what we're going to do is